Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today PRS leaked some of the specs and the pictures of the new PRS Silver Sky SE model. If you are a part of the guitar community, if you're a John Mayer fan, and you haven't been living under a rock for the past couple weeks, you probably have seen that PRS kind of hinted at a Silver Sky, or at least just something that had to do with John Mayer and a new SE model. And for those of you who love the PRS but don't want to pay the price tag, well, this might be your chance to get one. So today what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at those pictures, we're going to look at the specs, and we're going to maybe compare and contrast some of the specs from their core model, the more expensive one. But before we do any of that, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit that little like button if you like this video, comment if you have any opinions on this. It's going to be kind of a controversial topic with the import line versus the core line, and don't forget to hit that little notification bell as well. All right, let's get into it. So right away we see it looks like a Silver Sky. It's I was expecting something a little bit different, because typically with their core models versus their SE models, like if they're the exact same ones, there's going to be some subtle differences, maybe even some body shape design differences. Like I used to have the SE Hollow Body 2, and there were definitely some contour differences between that and their core Hollow Body 2. So everything looks pretty much similar. You can see there right away there's a little difference here in the bridge. It's a 2-point trim instead of a 6-point trim, or 6-screw trim. We got some nice colors. We got evergreen and stone blue. I'm very curious to see these in person if they make their way to a dealer near me. This little contour right here on the core models, it's kind of a glittery, slightly different color just so it can pop out on stage. And John has experimented with different colors in that little pocket as well. Like I believe there was one that was kind of a mock sand color, but it also had a little bit of purple in it. Nice colors though. And this is really interesting, this moon white one. I would think that besides the black and the white color Silver Sky, this moon white is probably the closest we've seen to something that's more of a vintage S-style guitar, dare we say Fender. It's more of like a vintage white color to me. Alright, so now here's where we get into some of the specs. So typical solid body guitar, but the first piece right here that's a big difference is they use poplar instead of alder body for the whole body wood. Now this is interesting because poplar is widely available, it's cheap, we see it on a lot of cheap import models. So very curious why they chose this instead of maybe something like a basswood. But we do know that poplar is maybe not as resonant, but who knows what they were able to source from their wood supplier. 22 frets, same thing, 25.5-inch scale, maple neck wood, scarfed neck construction. So for those of you who don't know what scarf neck construction is, they take their regular piece of the neck and then they have another cut of the headstock, and it kind of goes at an angle like this, and there's a bunch of different ways to configure it so it has a different angle, which helps with the break angle of the strings. Has a PRS double active truss rod and the same neck shape as the other PRS Silver Skies. But we do know from seeing a bunch of YouTube videos between when the PRS Silver Sky was released and to 2021, the neck profile has changed a little bit, but they're kind of going for the same thing. And we see that the depth is 53/64 of an inch thick, so that's around that's at about the half fret, so that means it's roughly like 0.83 inches. And then all the way up to the 12th fret, or 12th and a half fret, it's 31/32, so that's roughly like 90.097 or 0.970 inches. So that's pretty thick, but that's the kind of profile that John has on all of his Silver Skies. And then this is where we see another little difference, and that's in the nut width. So I don't know if this was a typo, but you can see here it's 1 and 20/32 of an inch wide, and the PRS Silver Sky, the core model, is 1 and 21/32 of an inch wide. So that's about 1.65 inches, and this one is less at 1.625 inches. So a little bit skinnier. It's going to affect the string spacing a little bit. Then same thing, we have rosewood. Another difference, we have the fretboard radius or fingerboard radius at 8.5 inches. So it's a little bit flatter, but not quite to like a modern player spec. But this is something that a lot of people kind of speculated. They thought it was going to be more of a modern type of fingerboard radius, and they're right. And we do know that John had some prototypes that were using a 8.5 inch radius. And then everything else is very similar except for the logo. Moving on, like I said in the very first picture, we have a 2-point steel tremolo, and I personally really like a 2-point tremolo just because it has a little bit of slack to mix with the snap of a 25.5 inch scale. But I think it's going to be even easier for someone who maybe wants to adjust the tremolo to adjust it themselves. I remember picking up a couple Silver Skies, the original ones, and it had the 6 screws, and to get it to sit right, because it has to sit at just a little bit of an angle, even to John's specs, it wants to angle up just ever so slightly. You have to adjust all 6 of them, and it was a little cumbersome. Now here's another difference. We have the tuners, they're vintage style, but going back here, they're the same look as the original Silver Sky, but they're non-locking. Then we have nickel for all the hardware. I'm not sure if they use maybe a different material on some of the hardware in the original Silver Sky, but I'm assuming it's nickel because all the pictures I've seen of used ones are a little bit aged, which is kind of that patina look that nickel gets. Now another big change is the synthetic bone nut, but that's something that we would normally see on like an import model type of guitar. Now, don't know how lubricated that, if it's self-lubricating or whatever, but it's synthetic. But I'm sure that because it's coming from PRS, it will look really nice. It'll be nice and cut. Now the pick guard, it says ABS, and ABS is a little bit more pliable to work with compared to like a PVC, which we probably saw on the earlier Silver Sky model. So maybe this was kind of a compromise for this SE model and the price point that they're going for, which we still don't know. I'm speculating it's going to be roughly like $1,000 out the door. Now this is probably going to be the piece that everyone talks about the most, which is the pickups. We all know that John and Paul Reed Smith went back and forth a lot to try and get the Silver Sky pickups just right, based off kind of his 64 Sunburst Strat that he loves. Now these ones say 635 Jam S, and we know that in past models the S means they're the import line. So I'm really surprised that they are giving them a different pickup. I'm hoping that these ones are a little bit more true to the original, because that's what gave it its mojo. I played a couple of them and those pickups sounded great. So hopefully they were able to nail this on the head. And we have your typical 5-way blade switch, nothing too different there. And then right here on the headstock, you can see it's still got that different headstock than your regular PRS guitar, but looks very similar to Silver Sky except for the decal. So overall, there's going to be some compromises because this is an import model that they have to lower the price. And I know that since the PRS came out, everyone's been wanting an SE model. Now, it's still a controversial subject because who knows if this will devalue the core model Silver Sky and make the SE more of the widely purchased instrument of the two. But also, who knows if John will even play these live. But I think it's still a good move just because I know that John likes to get instruments and products into the hands of his fans, and no matter what kind of income they're bringing in, he wants them to be able to enjoy his products. So in the comments, let me know what you think. Again, this is a kind of controversial subject, but also kind of exciting for the guitar world. Get to see some new colors and give us something else to talk about that's John Mayer related. So let me know in the comments what you think, and we will wait to see what happens on January 11th for the big announcement. Hopefully there'll be some videos that maybe John might demo them, or maybe some of the guys at PRS. All right, we'll see you later.